Greetings everyone, and welcome back to another great episode of Office Pro TV. I'm your host Daniel Lowry, and in today's episode, well, I hope you're excited because I sure am, because we're back with more in our Excel 2016 Essentials series, right? It's been a lot of fun so far, and joining us back in the studio, our good friend Miss Vaughn Smith. Vaughn, we're glad to have you again. How's it going today?
It's fantastic. I'm ready to navigate the Excel waters.
Oh.
Yes, and show you how to, well.
Sounds dangerous.
Well, I'm going to make it less dangerous for everybody and actually show you how to do it, and all sorts of fun little ways that we can make little shortcuts to make our travels a little less strenuous. Arduous?
Yeah.
Yes, strenuous.
Word a day calendar.
Right. GRE preps.
That's right.
Yes, so we're going to make it a little bit easier for us to get around. I'm going to show you all sorts of shortcuts. So why don't we get started right away in our Navigate a Workbook file, our Navigate a Workbook that I already have opened on our screen. All right, so this is one of those basics, foundations that probably a lot of people skip over. So then these are some of my favorite episodes to go over, because it's like, I think you said, like, you might have already known it, but now you know it better, or now you know why, or, oh, that's what that was doing. So it's kind of fun to have those aha moments that everybody likes to do, especially with something so basic. Like, you're a genius. I'm like, thanks.
You know what it is like, you ever ask somebody, they're doing something complex, and you know a little bit about it, and then you go, now, why do you do that? And they go, because that's how it works.
Yeah.
I understand that part, but why are we doing that to make it work?
And I also think that's also part of your personality, because I heard you in the other room like saying, well, no, you've given me that information, but why? Tell me why. Just get to the point. And we kind of go along the same way. So when we first start out in Excel of navigating a document, before I say, oh, just click here, just do that, it's all about the mouse cursor icons and more. I mean, this isn't on all of our programs. I've talked about this in Word. I've talked about this in PowerPoint, even Outlook. In Excel, it's the same premise. Like, you really need to slow down, take a breath, look at what you're doing. What do I see? Because what you see is what's going to happen, type thing. Our mouse cursor icons, like when I move my mouse around.
You mean the little pointer that's floating across the screen?
Yes, correct. And that mouse pointer icon will change depending on where you're at. Now in Excel, when you're just kind of all over in this place right here, you see what I call the big white plus sign. It's the white plus sign.
It's very descriptive.
Yeah, right. Or you can even say the white cross, whichever way you want to describe that. So this is the cell selector mouse pointer icon. If you're going to click right now, you will be selecting a cell. That's exactly what you need to look for. Now, when I see this down here, I'm just going to kind of circle my mouse around it, because I don't want to hover my mouse over it, because then I'm going to get different icons. When you see a cell, because I guess we should probably even back up. I just realized, I'm like, I should back up here. So Excel is a workbook, and I think we've actually talked about this in our introductions and everything like that, or the intro one, but right here, where columns and rows intersect is a cell, and that's what a spreadsheet is all about. It's in a grid-like tabular fashion, and that where we have our columns and our rows, and our columns and our rows are labeled. We have our column headers up here, and we have our row numbers over here to the left. And when you are on a cell, you now have an active cell. The reason I know this is an active cell is because that gray, that's not gray, that's green. The green box around that cell indicates that is my selected cell. That is my active cell. Got the borders, and also notice up in our column and our row references, it's like highlighted and underlined as well. And so that's also where you get the cell reference. This is cell F15. You always start with your column and then your row, and that's where I am at. That's my active cell. This also shows up in the name box over here. There's the name box that this is cell F15. Cool, so now we know that. All those mouse pointer icons, you probably even saw a couple when I hovered over F. When I come up to my column, you see that this is where it turns into a black arrow pointing down. versus this icon. Let me zoom back out. Let me come over to my rows. Do you see how if it's kind of go off the screen a little bit. I have a black arrow pointing to the right versus the lines and the two arrows on there. So those are all different mouse cursor icons that do different things, such as changing the row height, selecting the row, selecting the column, changing the column width. So more episodes on that where we will cover how to actually do that. So coming down into our active cell, if I hover my mouse over the edge of the active cell, then you're going to get the 4-pointed arrows. The 4-pointed arrows will always, there's that asterisk thing we always talk about, like I'm always scared of making things in absolutes, but I'm going to go with it this time. 4-pointed arrows are always going to mean move. I will be moving the contents of whatever is in that cell to another place. If I move over to the very bottom right-hand corner of an active cell, you get the little black plus sign. So you have the big white plus sign, and then you have the little black plus sign. When you see that, that is what's technically known as the fill handle. That will be doing something when you pull this down, like click, hold, and drag down or across. It's going to do something completely different than if you were here or if you were here. So all of those mouse cursor icons are all right in this tiny little vicinity, and you need to be very careful about where you are, what does the cursor look like before you do something, okay? Because if I have that big white plus sign and I single click, I have now selected that cell. This has become my active cell versus moving it, and you can see I don't have any content in there, so you can just kind of see it. If there was something, it would now go there versus dragging this down, which would do something separate, okay? I'll tell you what those are later. Right now, we're just talking about navigating the document and getting familiar with those mouse cursor icons. So very important to differentiate those different items. So as we said, this is our active cell. So if I say, okay, I'd like you to select cell D4. Okay, D, there's column, row 4, that is cell D4. If I say click on I3, okay, what if I say K10? Okay, whoops, that's 11. Okay, well, let me go to 10. All right. So you get the idea here of like taking your references and then selecting that active cell. Cool, so now we know how I can navigate to select specific cell references that I need to go to. Now we're in a worksheet of a workbook. So we've talked about that before. In Excel, we're always talking about files as a workbook that are collected of sheets, kind of like a book has pages in it. So our sheets are like our pages. In each one of these, you have your scrolls, right? If I need to scroll down, you come over to the right-hand side. You can click, hold, and drag this scroll down, and you can see that it's showing you like what row are we in right there with that little hovering little tooltip. You also have the little bumpy buttons. So behind my head, we got the little button down here where I can just go ahead and click, 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 and just kind of jump down a little bit at a time. You also then have a horizontal scroll down here to where if I needed to move over into my worksheet, I can click, click, or drag this back and forth to get to the specific places that I want. So scrolls, always good, and the scroll bars. Now, I tend to be a scrolly wheel person. Yeah, yeah. Well, actually, on this mouse right here, I don't have a scrolly wheel.
It's like,
yeah,
it mimics a scrolly wheel, right?
Yeah.
You just move
See,
your finger.
I don't know how many of you are, well, since I'm teaching 2016 for Windows,
yeah.
You probably won't have a Magic Mouse.
Most likely. I mean, you could be running boot camp or something like that.
Because it is an Apple product.
It is an Apple product.
I don't even know if they make anything like this in
I'm sure
not Apple. I'm sure
they do.
I never look for
typically,
it
because you got people coming from Mac going to Windows PC based kind of thing, so they want some familiarity. So I wouldn't be surprised to see a product out there.
There's knockoffs of everything,
yeah.
But I am definitely an Apple fangirl. I'm just going to tell you that right now. But I'm both. I don't discriminate by any means. I like Windows just as well as Mac, honestly, but I like Macs more. Anyways, I can scroll down using my longer way around, just use the scrolly wheel and scroll on down. So you scroll on down, you scroll on up, and that's totally fine, whichever way you need to go. Now, if you were on a, if I was on a Mac, and Excel for Mac, my Magic mouse does actually scroll to the left and the right, which is kind of cool. But since I'm in here, that's all right. If you need to go left and right, you're going to have to go down to your scrolls over on the bottom. All right, so that's how we can move around by scrolling. All right, so now I get to my favorite part of navigating with your keyboard. Yay! Okay, so try to take your hands off the mouse. Now I'll probably still have to go to it because it's just, it's almost like an extension of your hand, really. But trying to get around with your keyboard can be a lot easier sometimes. All right, now we're not selecting right now. Right now, all we're doing is just getting to the places that we need to go. We have a whole separate episode for selecting cells and everything like that, which all these keyboard shortcuts are going to kind of come back into play a little bit. So right now, my active cell is C4. That's the one I have. I'll even just move this over to the side so we don't have to see this. How do you think I'm going to move one cell down, one cell to the right, one cell to the up or left? What do you think, Daniel?
With the arrow keys?
Yes, the arrow keys. Those arrow keys on your keyboard, and I actually attached like a full keyboard to my computer so I could actually have access to these. Not that I don't have them on my laptop. I just
It's a whole lot nicer on a full-size keyboard.
Yeah, so like here's my full-size keyboard. It's a Mac keyboard.
It's a Mac keyboard.
But it's
Pay no attention to that.
Yeah, so pretend it's got Windows on there.
That's right. We'll tape a little Windows icon to it, and we're good to go.
Exactly. Oops, I actually did something there. There we go. So arrow down, arrow right, arrow left, arrow up. Click, 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 and you can go ahead and move all around to where you need to go. So if I need to go to the move here, well, there's F4, so now that's my active cell, and I can do whatever I need to do with it. Copy, paste it, so on and so forth. Now, there's some other keys that you can use. I'm using my down arrow key, so now I'm on cell F10. In Excel, how you can get one cell over to the right, you can use your tab key. If you use the tab, 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 that gets me over to the right. To get a cell to the left, use your shift tab. So hold your shift key, click the tab, and then I go to the left. So think about if you're doing data entry, it's like type, 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 tab, tab, tab. And we've talked about tabs and shift tabs in lists when we were doing Word, of like indenting and outdenting. So this should be pretty common. Now I'm using my arrow keys for a second to get here, F6, just because your enter key on your keyboard, it takes you down. It's almost like when you hit enter in Word, it makes a new paragraph. Well, we're not.
Except this doesn't push cells down when you hit enter. It just goes to the one below it.
Correct. Yeah, it's only a navigation thing. Yeah. Good point. Because in Word, it moves.
Right. It would like push. If you had content below that, you hit enter, it's going to push that content down.
Yeah.
In Excel, not doing that.
I'm glad you picked up on that. That's awesome. I'm like, oh yeah.
I'm a very bright child.
Because we're talking about Word.
Yeah.
Yes, and so it would be making paragraphs. Here it's just a navigation thing. And so if you can hit enter to go down, you can do shift enter to go up. So if you don't want to use the arrow keys, you can use your tab and enter, shift tab, and shift enter to go around.
Now, really quickly, I don't want to jump ahead if that's what's happening. So you just let us know if that's what's occurring. If when we get into things like equations and doing macros, if I hit enter, is that going to affect that cell in any kind of way, or is it always going to be just navigational?
If you're actively in a cell, like typing or creating a formula, if you hit enter, it's like you're saying, I'm done.
Gotcha.
And it will move down.
Okay.
So just to show you what I'm doing, like if I type here, see how I got a flashing cursor in there? If I hit enter, it's like I'm done, I've committed whatever you've put into that cell, and I'm moving down one.
Okay.
So that's exactly what it will do. So good point. Awesome. But it doesn't move any of the content below it down like in Word. So perfect. Now there's another little trick or little cute thing that you can do in conjunction with where you're starting. I'm using my arrow keys. So I'm going to come down here to F10. If I start tabbing from F10, I'm going to tab, tab, tab. We're going to the right. Now watch what happens when I hit enter here. It acts almost like a carriage return in Word, to where I hit enter, and it's going to take me down to the next row from where I started tabbing from. So that's kind of cute. So if I tab, 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 enter, tab, 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 enter, tab, tab, enter, enter, now it's just going back down. But if I used my arrow keys, so if I started here, I'm using arrow right, enter, you see it doesn't do that. It's only where you started the tab sequence from.
That's quirky.
It's cute, right?
I mean, I can, in my mind, I'm already starting to think, okay, I can see why you would want to use one over the other and have that as an option, but it seems silly out of the gate.
No, yeah, and it's one of those, like, if I was creating, kind of, like here, like hello world, I just did a copy,
Right.
like, down. But if I was supposed to type in information like, 1, 2, 3, next line, enter, 4, 5, well, I forgot to hit the tab in between. But see, now it's just like, I didn't want it to go down. I wanted it to actually start like a new line or a new sentence, if you want to say, like in Word. So it's kind of, again, cute.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean that you have to use them. It's just one of those things that if you use them together in sequence, it does that.
And again, if you had 1, 2, 3, and 4, 5, 6, and you said, for whatever reason, I want to put 12, and you were at 3 and you hit enter, it would not push 4, 5, 6 down.
Correct.
And create a new, so it would just go down there.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, perfect. So
All right, I'm with you.
I like this.
I'm following along.
Awesome. So we have our shift tabs and all that good stuff. Okay, so now we're going to get into the group of keys that's in the middle of the keyboard, the home and the end, the END key, not the N like the letter. So home, end, those two ones together can do some interesting things. Now by themselves, right now, where am I? I'm in C4. If I hit the home key, it will take me to the first column of whatever row I'm in. I'm going to take my mouse, so like if I'm here, I'm on M7, hit the home key, takes me to A7. So it's always going to take me to that first column of that row. Okay, cool. So I'll come back to the end key in just a second. Let's say I'm way down here. I'm not that far down, but I'm somewhere else. If the quickest way to get back to A1, to home, it's not home by itself, because that's the row. It's control home. We talked about this in Word. If you watch the Word series, like control home would always get you to the very top of the document. And I was like, oh, that's so cool. So, because sometimes when you're working in spreadsheets, you might be really, really far down. You might be like in row 560, and I need to get all the way back up to the top. Quickest way, control home, always brings you back down. Pretty great. So now if you said control home, you may be thinking, oh, well then control end, right? It does. Now, if I do control and then the end key, it takes me, and it's actually kind of behind my head right there, it takes me to row AT, row, oh wait, no, that's column AT, row 88. Like, whoa, and I actually have I'm the end.
80, 88.
Yeah.
AT 88.
Oh my God, I like that. Nice, I like that. So here, it's like now, how did I, and I'll do control home now, so that took me to A1, control end, takes me to the end, and it's going to take me to the very last thing that it sees in like the data that you have entered, as far over and as far down as your content goes. So that's why I put that way, way out there into, and I'll scroll over so you can see this a little bit. It took me all the way down to there because that's where I put the information. So this also is giving you a little clue as to like our column references, right? It goes A, then to Z. Well, then what does it do once it's after Z? It goes AA, AB, da-da-da, da-da-da, da-da-da. Okay, wow, that's a lot. Okay, and how many rows we got going on here? Well, let me do control home again. Takes you here. We talked about our arrow keys, correct? We said the arrow right, arrow down. Well, if you hold your control key and your right arrow, whoa, where did I just go?
You're the XFD.
You went to the ends of the earth, basically. This is the last column, because do you know that in an Excel worksheet, you can have 16,384 columns? Really?
It's a lot.
That's a lot, yeah. So using those control arrow keys can get you down some places. Now, look at where I'm at right here. I'm in cell A1. If I hold my control key and then hit the down arrow key, notice it jumps to the next place where it sees content within this column. Let's do it again. Control, down arrow. Gets me all the way down, and let me scroll so you can see this a little bit. See, that's that last column, or sorry, last row within column A. If I do control down again, ooh, well now I'm getting down into row 1 million, yes, because I have 1,048,576 rows that are available in an Excel sheet. One sheet, that's one sheet. and then how many sheets you can have. I think you used to be able to have 255 worksheets, but then I think now it's just the size limitation of your files, which I believe is 4 gigs. You can't have a file over 4 gigs. That's a lot of information. If you're putting that much information into a file, you don't need to be using Excel.
I was going to say, I'm starting to see why people are using this as a database when they shouldn't be using it as a database, because it's really allowing them to, in a lot of ways, really be a database for them, even though it's not really what it's meant for.
Correct, yes. A database and a spreadsheet are not the same things, but people use it as that storage. Yeah, so if you're using that much, you need to go a little bit up. It's kind of like, you know, making Word be like a page layout program.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't do that. You can try, and it will do it, but InDesign is the next step, or even Publisher if we're going to stay in the Microsoft family. All right, so that cool stuff with our control arrow keys, same thing here. I'm using my mouse. I'm going to click over here to I7, hold my control key down, hit the right arrow. It's going to go to the end of that contiguous range of information, the most rightest, wow, yep, the most right cell within that range. But now if I hold control and hit the right key again, it's going to go all the way to that other column. So you can see that it's not just for taking you to the ends of the earth. It's really just taking you to the ends of this range of information, you know, talking about databases, right? These records and all of that. So holding control, hit the arrow key, last column within this range, hold control, down arrow, last row within this range. So you can kind of jump around quickly thinking about if you have, you know, a list of customers or addresses or whatever that you might have. You might easily have 60,000 rows and 25 columns in something that you're holding information about your whatever, you know, your customers. So it's good to be able to jump around really, really quickly. So I like those little tricks right there. Now you could also navigate to cells through the name box, because all the places that we're going, I'm going to do a control home. I have A1. That's where I'm at right now. If I, notice, look at my mouse cursor icon. It's got an I-beam. I-beam means if I click, I can type text in. So if I click, I could type in the reference. If I typed in, say, like M for my column, and then 78, and then hit enter, it's going to take me directly to that cell. So you can type that in, but you can't use spaces, and you have to make sure, like if I typed in Daniel, that's not going to take me to you, because it doesn't have any reference there. Now, unless I use
someone listed, so.
Yeah, so
I love how the little jokes that get you by. It's such a joy to work with her.
I know, then I'm like, oh wait, I'm teaching a show. So yeah, so you can have that. Now, you do have named ranges that if you could use words to reference specific ranges of cells, but that's another level up. Not a huge level up, but just somewhere else. So, and I believe when we were in the the other file, the Christmas cats, we saw that there are named ranges, and I will show you how to do that eventually. I'll tell you later. All right, so now we've got our navigation. Let's do some zooms really quickly. So sometimes when I'm looking at this, it's just like a little too far away. I need to zoom in. Back over on our status bar, down in the bottom right-hand corner of our status bar, you can see behind my head, you can see that I have the little plus signs and the minus signs that I can always come and zoom in to my workbook and see the cells a little bit bigger. You have the little zoom out buttons. That's fantastic. No reason why you can't use the status bar and the zoom over here. But you know me, I like different shortcuts, right? So how you can zoom in and out of your file without using those buttons over there on the bottom, you can hold your control key and then use your scrolly wheel, and then you can see I zoomed in a lot. And then I control scrolly wheel and I can zoom out, and that's where
Mike Roderick right there. That's how if you've ever seen Mike's screen, it's super tiny.
Yeah, I know, and he has really bad eyes.
He does. It's a great prescription. That's all I can say.
He has those like bifocal contact stuff. Yeah. Oh, I don't know how I could do that. So hopefully I won't need those one day. I'm probably going to.
You will.
Yeah. But you can see like really far out here, like, oh, there's that tiny cell. Remember that one that I said was way down in there because I was using that control end? Yeah. So I could see there, and then I can zoom in a little bit more. So, and it might, hopefully I'm not, freaking you out over here because it's like it's shaking the screen a little bit. But that's how you can zoom in and out of the document if I wanted to. I just did a control home to get you back. You always have your View tab as well to get into the specific zoom magnification that you want. You could always find that button for 100%. So if I zoomed in like too much, I'm like, oop, quick way. Just go ahead and click that button there, and then I can go ahead and zoom out. Oh, quick little adding into our interface. That's maybe a button that I'm going to use a lot. I want to add it to my quick access toolbar because I don't want to keep coming over here to my View tab. If you right click over any command on the ribbon, there's always that option to add to the quick access toolbar. So it's kind of like, I'm not going to remember where this is later, but I'm going to be using it a lot. You can go ahead and do that, and now I have my zoom to 100%. The other one that's kind of fun, let me do Control Home, is the zoom to selection. If you have selected cells and you click this button, it'll zoom you into however much you have selected. Right now, it's just a single cell, so it's like, whew, that's really far in. And so now I go back to 100%. So that zoom to selection is a handy little button right there. All right, and then the last few things that I wanted to talk about were the views that you have. Since we're on the View tab, oh, that's why I put that in this order here, looking at my notes.
There's a method to your madness there, Vaughn.
You know, sometimes there is. Sometimes. We have our normal. We also have page break preview and page layout. There's a lot of views in Word. There's not as many in Excel, which is kind of nice. This, to me, I rarely ever come out of normal view. But page layout, this is where, talking about Word, where it's going to show you every page, like 8.5 by 11, like when you're going to print this out, it's showing you what this looks like in kind of that view. And you can see the actual breaks and where you can add headers and footers to where you see all of your page layout items. And so now I've got all of that. Okay, lovely, but now I don't want to see this anymore because to me, this isn't Word. I don't think of this in pages. I think of this in a spreadsheet. So I don't tend to like this. I just go back over to normal, but do notice something. Do you see here, and it might be hard to see on the recording, but do you see there's like these dotted lines going on here? And if I zoom out of the document, you can, oh, there we go. As soon as you go, as soon as you switch this view into page layout and come back into normal, it will always show you like where the breaks in the pages are gonna show up when you print this. So it's kind of nice because now if I was trying to get everything on a piece of paper, I could try to stay within those dotted lines. But I've had people like, I don't know what I did. There's dotted lines on here. It's like, it's okay. Don't worry. It's just showing you where the printed page is going to end up. Which means that if I come over here to page break preview, that's also another way. Now it makes these with these blue lines that come up in page break preview. And once you're in page break preview, you can actually move where the breaks are. It's like when we do a next page break or continuous section break or like a hard page break in Word. It's the same idea here, and you can move them around. But you will get dotted lines back in normal anytime you switch your views. Now, the last thing I want to talk about is we're talking about navigating a worksheet. Well, what if I needed to go to a different worksheet? Down at the bottom, we have our little tabs, our worksheet tabs across that tell us, well, this is sheet 1. If I wanted to go to sheet 3, you just click on it. Single click, don't double. Single click, that's pretty easy. Hey, I want to go to 6. Here's 6, 5, 3, 2, there's 4 in there too. And I can go over to those different places and I can navigate my worksheets. But I do want to show you a shortcut. It's just kind of fun.
Wouldn't be Vaughn if you didn't show us a shortcut.
I know, right? So if you hold your control key and your page up or page down, your page down is going to go down the page. It's weird because page down and page up, I would think I'm going up in numbers. So, but it's not. It's like the order. Okay, I'm going up in my order or down in my order. So control page up, control page down will jump you from worksheet to worksheet. And I believe, as I'm looking at my notes, I believe I've covered everything that I wanted to cover in navigating a workbook. Like we've gone all over the places. I got you different paths to take to your destinations. So now that you know how to navigate, the next episode we're going to talk about selecting those cells so we can go ahead and do things like maybe make them red, which would be another episode, but trying to keep it in digestible chunks. We'll go ahead and move on to that in our journey.
Well, Vaughn, we've learned some very important things in this episode, like what is a workbook and how to navigate it. It's been a lot of fun. So
Yes, perfect.
a lot of great information in here. Again, building that foundational knowledge so that as we talk about things and get into more complex topics inside of Excel, terminology is the same, definitions are the same. We all know what everybody's talking about, and that is the point of doing these basic type shows. So definitely continue to join with us as we continue throughout Excel Essentials. But for this episode, we are out of time. We do thank you for watching, though. Signing off for Office Pro TV, I've been your host, Daniel Lowry.
And I'm Vaughn Smith.
And we'll see you next time.